Real quick, let's do this.
Sure.
Just a mass deportation thing. Like, how likely do you think it is to
yes.
actually happen?
Okay.
And if you do think that there's some sort of mass deportation that happens, what does that look like?
Oof.
Just quickly for
Messy.
me,
Yeah, go ahead.
I think there's going to be an increase in deportation, but I don't think there's going to be this mass deportation. I just don't know where the money comes from. And again, I cite this idea that
declaring a national emergency. That's the idea.
so that would help him
Just to
be
caveat
able
that.
to accomplish that. I don't disagree with you.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that's the one lane that could happen. All other lanes wouldn't work. How about that? I think that's the one way. Because
again,
I guess you could declare a national emergency, and let's just say, I don't know if this is actually true, but let's just say you control the military, no questions asked. If you declare a national emergency, then you could just order units, absolutely, to just, hey, your mission is to just, like, I don't care that you have a bunch of these people that do different jobs. Like, you need to have a bunch of people researching illegal immigrants across the country, and you have a bunch of people rounding them up and deporting them.
Right.
A national emergency feels like that could make that somewhat happen. But even then, like, you're talking about spending a lot of money, dude, a lot of resources. Like, it would be... So I don't think you could do it on a super large scale. What about you?
So when you have the likes of Stephen Miller and you give him a blank check with executive power, they're gonna try. I don't know how successful they'll be, but they are absolutely going to try. And again, I don't know how that works because, like, I'm sure states can gum up the process if they want to. I don't know that they could stop the federal government, but they certainly could slow them down. Whereas if you have states like Texas and Florida that are just like, working hand in hand with local law enforcement and maybe neighbors calling in tips on their fucking other neighbors that they don't like and they're suspicious don't have a legal reason to be here, like, maybe those states empty out first. I don't know, but what I do know is it is going to be a fucking mess. Because okay, so you have somebody who's been here for 10 plus years living illegally, but they have their jobs or whatever. They're working whatever. I don't trust a Stephen Miller ghoul to do the due diligence of returning this person to actually the place that they're from, right? Like, are they just going to try and dump them in some border town in Mexico and just bribe Mexico to look the other fucking way?
Well,
I don't know.
And even beyond that, doesn't it appeal to you, to your humanity? People who have been here for a long time, let's say, but let's say someone who's been here illegal 15 years and they happen to have a petty shoplifting crime a couple years being here, and they dig that up and they deport them. But they have a family here. It's but again,
it's gonna be
and this is where I think the right fails to have any sense of being Jesus Christ. I claim that, not you, motherfucker, and I'm on the left. Eat my shit.
There you go.
But this is where I say that, because it's if you're someone who wants to come to the negotiating table with me about immigration, moving forward, let's talk about how to shore up the border and make sure we get illegal crossings as little as possible. Let's do it. But if we're at the same table and you're someone who agrees to that with me, and I would agree with you, let's do that. At the same time, say we have to get rid of everyone who's been establishing a life here, I totally disagree with you. Disagree with you. It's I'm not saying that everyone should stay, but I default to my lefty humanity in me. I'm sorry. Fuck off. Come at me, whoever wants to. Where it's if you've been here for, dude, even a year plus, I just don't. There's got to be context to every situation. Someone's got to look into it, because these are human beings, right? How do you feel about that?
Yeah.
I'm sure you're not going to say you disagree, but
No, I mean, to me, if you've been in this country for several years and you
Sure, let's say
Especially
several.
if you've never showed up on the radar of any sort of illegal activity. You've literally just been working. You have a family. Just give them fucking permanent residence status. Bring them into the tax system, and leave them alone. If you're worried about them
Right.
becoming voters one day, maybe you can make a special. This person can never be a citizen, permanent resident status. But like, fucking leave them alone.
Right. That's
It
where.
just seems to me counterproductive to actually dig, because there are. Let's
Right.
be honest. Trump says what, 10 to 15 illegals. I don't know what the actual number is. I believe that it's several million for sure.
Mhm.
Clearly, a majority of these people are just existing in society, filling some role, and either raising a family or just living their lives,
Right.
right? Most of these
Right.
people don't pop up on. And, if you want to go after the ones that are doing violent crime, fucking all the power to you. Get rid of them. I don't care.
Yeah.
But, like,
Right. I mean.
this idea that you feel like you have to just fully root into the system and pull everybody out, even if they're doing nothing but contributing, is.
Yeah.
I mean, forget about the morals. It's just counterproductive. Your produce
think
is going to get
that's-
way more expensive. Your construction jobs are going to go
Oh,
way
yeah.
slower. Like, just call it what it is. These people are filling a role.
Yeah.
A lot of them are.
And I think that's where me and you, again, would sit at that table, and if we were like talking about what to do from this day forward, as far as making illegal crossings as little as possible, everyone's gonna be like, let's do it. This is why it's, and we always say, everyone always says this. Oh, how do they not come to some compromise at the top with politics? Because like it doesn't feel like it should be that hard, but we know why. We know how, whatever, money and bullshit. But yeah, like moving forward, illegal crossings should be as little as possible. Facts. But what are you gonna do with all the people that did get in here and lived here? Oh, we're gonna chuck them out. It's like, no, I don't agree with that. I totally disagree with that. Like, I don't
Are they
like
gonna
that.
Dreamers out?
You
know what I mean?
I'm not
Like-
going to tell you that everybody should stay, but there's got to be some context that we can fish through a little bit. Besides, you're brown, get lost. Like, we're not going to do that. We're not.
It's so
gonna
funny
do
to me
that,
too,
dude.
because
It's terrible. Yeah.
even it's so funny to me because Republicans, if it weren't for, because there are generous tinges of racism here, underpinning the whole
tinges,
conversation.
Oh yeah.
But if Republicans could just understand that if you made, let's call it 10 million Latinos, right? Just for sake of argument, it's 10 million Latinos illegals in the U.S.
Sure.
Most of them working, just filling some niche somewhere. If you made all those 10 million citizens today and let them vote in the presidential election in 4 years,
They would vote conservative.
there would be large swaths of that group that votes conservative,
100%.
if not
They're so dumb about
a
this.
simple majority.
I know.
right?
That,
Like,
that shit grinds my gears
it's-
so much. You're right.
But to them, like, because that's the argument, right? They always say, well, we can't give these illegals
So
citizenship. They're
dumb,
just gonna
man.
vote. They're just gonna vote left all the way down the
Democrat.
ballot, and it's just not.
Dude, Elon Musk has
true.
even tweeted about this many times. He's like, "Oh, this is their bait and switch."
Yeah, right.
What a
Right.
fuking man.
Well, that's what he was
but
saying when he was
yeah.
saying this is the last election ever, because he was like, they're gonna legalize all
So
the illegals,
stupid.
and then illegals are gonna
everybody's-
vote straight D down the ballot. Every state's gonna be like
Everybody said
California.
this. I will
You guys
give
are
me and you at
fucking
least a
dumb.
little bit of credit. Me and
You
the
guys
old
are dumb.
Nord. But I'll give me and you at least some credit where it's like, at no point did I ever say that if Trump won, like, it would be the last election and it's all over. Like, I never said that. Like, there can be some definite weird shit that goes down that's weirder than any shit we've seen in our lifetimes politically. But, like, that's just so stupid. That's so tiring. So childish.
You know what I'll say? I agree.
It's like...
While I agree,
Yeah.
I think the threat of democracy ending is way more real under a conservative administration than a Democratic administration.
Two things can be true where it's like...
But yeah, I don't think Trump's going to do that.
Two things can be true where it's like, we might see the craziest stuff happen we've ever seen, but I just don't know that...
I agree with that.
Because so much in America is decentralized. So much, man. And 2020 got me thinking about this a few years ago, where a lot, after morons called fraud and cried fraud for 2020, many news outlets looked into it, and I watched things and read some things where it's like, you know, that the election system is so decentralized. It's like it gets to a point where if you're decentralized enough and everything kind of works together upwards, it's very hard to corrupt that on a scale that you're talking about for like fraud in an election on that size. The same goes for a lot of things in the U.S. I'm telling you, man. We'll see how much any person, let's just say, tries to like influence things. I think you can influence things directly that you might want to. Like DOJ might be about to get really fucked up, you know, from this.
Yeah.
There might be some other things because that's like the personal mission of the person that is the president. But like besides that, it's we'll see.
It's
I hope
funny.
I'm right.
It does.
I'm coping.
It does feel like I'm more concerned about these next 4 years than you are.
I think so. Yeah, which is kind of crazy. I know that is interesting to me too. It's different than I would have thought it would be, but because I do worry, but I don't think I don't worry.
I guess we'll see. Again, at the end of the day, it's funny because like I don't really have social media. The only thing I kind of like passively scroll sometimes is Reddit, and Reddit has such a left-leaning slant, which is fine. Like I'm, you know, at least I think I'm intelligent enough to like take everything with a grain of salt that I scroll
right, but
past.
there's context. But keep going.
Yeah, well, if you just go to popular, if you go to R all or popular, there's definitely.
I totally disagree with you about R all. There's just animals and like funny and dumb shit.
Sure, popular, I guess is.
But
what I mean.
if you talk about overwhelming opinion on the site, it's gonna lean more younger, which is probably gonna lean more like liberal. For sure. For sure.
That being said, I just see posts all the time that are like, this is it, you know, 40 million people are going to lose healthcare or blah, blah, blah. And I'm like,
dude,
can we just relax? Can we not, like, can we just wait to see what actually manifests? Then let's make our cases.
Correct.
You know, it's like this preemptive responsiveness to a hypothetical of something that might, like, just fucking relax for a second. Let's see what happens.
But let me posit this to you.
Pick up your torches.
Let me posit this to you. Forget about, like, Reddit being left. Just think about the internet as a whole. All it is reactionary. Get the fuck off the internet, dude. Just get off the. Because like you're right, where like we probably, where we find information, where you find information tends to be more liberal spaces. Because guess what? To be liberal means to support journalism more. Is my argument in like a bigger nutshell, right?
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
So you're going to, you know. You're going to be, but if you go to those spaces that aren't liberal, that are more conservative, you're also going to find just like fucking reactionary bullshit. Everywhere on the internet is going to be reaction. So you just kind of you're right with the biases. And I see more of a left bias because of the information that I consume. When I go out of my way to consume things and be entertained, I actually do a right bias. We've talked about this. You do too.
I do the same.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I consume a lot of that, and it's just reactionary. It's so dumb, man. It's like anytime I read this shit, anytime I read someone posting about like whatever the fuck, where it's kind of like look at me, but it's like activism. It just like sometimes I think about how hard it is to build an actual coalition in real life, not on the internet, to get people to vote and to get people to actually be a part of something that makes radical change. So difficult, man. And the posts online aren't it. They aren't it. Yeah,
they're not.
I guess that's my rant, but
it's just funny too because it just feels like 90% of the time the online discourse is people fighting straw men. It's it feels like such a waste of effort and outrage.
I can't tell
like
you.
I've said this before. Yeah, go ahead.
I can't tell you how much fulfillment I get out of being able to have serious conversations in real life. Like whenever I spend a day with someone where we can have conversations like that, I kind of feel like refreshed after.
Yeah, because it's good faith. It's so rare to find good faith online. I'm trying to find because that is not what generates money. Right. Is not good faith discussions. It's just not. And it's exhausting. And it sucks too because people are like, well, more and more Twitter or X is the fucking town square, but it's like the town square if you know.
Yeah, we'll see.
If it was people like shitting in their hands and throwing it at each other, like that's not the town square I want. And it just feels like the online space just prevents a lot of good faith discussion from happening.
I think there are things throughout history that can really upend society. The internet is definitely one of them. And I think after time, if that thing that upends society really causes an imbalance, things tend to come into order. Does that mean that humans can't annihilate themselves? No, I'm not saying that. They absolutely can, because they're absolute fucking morons. But if you look at history, here we are. We're still here. There's been plenty of things that upended society, like nuclear bombs even, which is a real existential threat.
Absolutely.
To humanity. And we're still here. So I'm hoping that, like, after a while, we went way off course, but this is an excellent discussion about how fucked the internet, and I'm hoping after a while there's enough people that not that you should unplug from the internet. The internet has pros, as we've said from like the dawn of fucking internet time.
Absolutely.
It's just, can we get to a place where we're better with managing how we use it in a more positive way? And where that's really challenging in my mind, maybe a longer discussion for another day, is how that conflicts with possibly a libertarian thinking. You know, because if you just let people run their course if they're going to kill themselves, that's tough. So,
well, so you know what it is? It and we should definitely put a pin in this. Like, maybe we should make a little note. But this would be a great
recording.
This would be a great conversation.
Sure.
But to me, like the democratizing of media, the democratizing of information, it is a good thing when you have intelligent users. So we're moving into an era where, for society to function, we need at least a simple majority of the people engaging online to be intelligent users, to be inquisitive, to be skeptical, to be data-based, to be good faith.
This is where
just feels like we're not there yet, right?
So
like we have the access to the information, but we don't have the capacity to take it for what it is.
This is where humanity limits itself, because you're right as far as if you were able to do a lot more online, you actually could, but you would have to have people that do it well enough to pull off that jump forward, let's say. I would argue in real life, this is what makes humanity limited, because in real life, we've still achieved a modern society with plumbers and electricians and all these people. But it's all based on seeing each other in real life, shaking hands, having that empathy that you get by having that interaction. Right. Even if you're the most disagreeable people that online, you would tear each other's throats apart. If you have no idea and you shake each other's hands and make a transaction, you just do. So I think you're right. I think humanity will still be fine as long as
I think it's the age of the individual.
Life continues to be what it is and can support society. Because like if society is just like if it's just Wall-E, folks, I'm killing myself, and I want you to too.
At this rate, Wall-E would be an aspiration for us. Good God Almighty! Right? I don't know that we'll even get to Wall-E.
You heard him, folks. Nord said, "Your aspiration is killing yourself." That's the best it gets. Insane.
Speaking of bad faith interpretations online,
so true.
But yeah, no, I think we're approaching something that I would term the age of the individual, and our democracies will only survive when the individual components, i.e. the fucking people, are able to have media literacy, internet literacy, are able to understand, epistemology, understand like the basic tenets of just like philosophical thought, because now it is up to all of us to be able to understand and handle all of the information we could ever want at the touch of our fingers. Like that is our responsibility as users to be smart about that, to not be fucking, animalistic in our thinking or
I think
just
once
scared
again
of everything.
I have a more positive outlook on how that might unfold in society and humanity than you do. Meaning,
I'm not saying we don't go that route.
You also had the more negative view of the next 4 years. I don't. I think also the same when you extrapolate it out. Because I think, I don't know, man.
Are we finding out that Psy is
How many
Size
times
the optimist here in this conversation? That's
in this
crazy.
one it is. I know, dude.
That's
Let
wild.
me tell you how rare that is. But it's true. But no, how many times have people predicted the end of society? Real talk, dude. Dude, how many times have you gotten on YouTube in the last 4 years and everyone's like, recession next month, there's gonna be a meltdown, you know? And then the same
Collapse of the
video is
dollar.
just like telling you about how the Fed's bad. But then like they all have been saying this for a long time, dude. And at what point, like, do we say?
Well,
Anyway,
the thing is, the thing that I hate about those predictions too is at some point you will be right because
I
nothing lasts
know,
forever,
and then they gloat like
right?
motherfuckers. I know, dude. It's
Nothing lasts
insufferable.
forever, so at some point you will
It's
be right,
insufferable.
and then they'll champion it like they got it, even though it's been people doing it for fucking ages.
There's this YouTube channel that their production is great, but it's called New Money, and
Okay,
their content is like.
stop. What is?
I'm not
this?
even gonna be a
Hang
hater,
on.
but what I'll say
I'm
is
looking
like
it up
it's
right
it's
now.
it's just like fear mongering about the economy constantly, dude.
Oh, sure.
Constantly, bro. And it's like it's not serious. It's clickbait. It ends up being clickbait. You feel me? Like
You know what it reminds me of?
yeah.
It reminds me of the fucking Tim Pool
Sure.
Civil War imminent thing
Oh
that you
my
can
God, you said that
track
100
back
times.
to
Yeah,
like
right.
2017.
And then like anytime some sort of like I'm gonna have balls when I get on Tim's stream and challenge him on things brings this up, he gets so defensive and he's like, I never say Civil War, you know? And we're just like, yo, you gotta be kidding me, bro. Like you say that shit all the time.
Oh my
Anyways,
god, I looked up Timcast 2 days ago. He streamed
Yeah.
a flat earth conspiracy debate. Is that where we're at?
I
Is
look,
this the
I
is
think
this what we need to be spending our time on?
when you look at the amount of people that even in a 2024 matchup between someone who you think would motivate a lot and also motivate a lot to vote against him, dude, the majority of people did not vote this time. The majority of people actually voted in 2020 for the first time in like many cycles. And then this time we went back to just like a lot of people don't vote. So I don't get as doomer as you when we have elections like we do in a way that we do. Which I thought of this because, you know, these elections embolden people like Tim Pool. You know they do. But no, I see a lot of people still not voting. And I'm just like, well, there's just a significant problem there, man. Like, even states, I remember being young and being a progressive. I'm still a progressive. Eat my shit. Anyways, I remember being young and a progressive, and I would be like, yo, get automatic voting, like, enrollment, like, done. Like, do a lot of these things. Ranked choice voting was also something I pushed for so long ago. But
As we all should.
But do a lot of these things, and it should help. And these states like Nevada have automatic voter registration at 18, and they still go red, brother. So I don't. And I'm not saying that they shouldn't go red. I'm not saying like voting red is bad, but like.
I think
You know what I'm getting at.
I think Gen Z voters are going to be more fickle, and I think it'll be a big reason why we see. I will genuinely right now. I don't know the next time we see a 2-term president. I don't know. It feels like we're more fickle. Our attention span is shorter.
I definitely
but,
agree with
that's
you.
an aside.
There was. This kind of goes back to the inflation because there is a certain amount of if bad things happen that really affect people's pocketbooks, especially their pocketbooks. There's going to be a revolt against the incumbency. Period. End of story.
Yeah.
And like it's just not something you can even overcome. And I think this election has proven even a bad candidate like Trump, because he objectively was straight up. I don't give a shit. So many people would be like, "You're such a hater. You have Trump derangement. Suck my balls. I don't give a fuck."
Oh God, Trump derangement is so
He was an objectively bad candidate, and he still won. To me, that doesn't mean he was a good candidate, like some people might say, because they're stupid. No, to me that means like, again, the incumbency is people get, dude. It's the economy.
Yeah.
Stupid reared its ugly head again. To me, a lot, right?
True
Remember
that.
Clinton said
Factual.
that. Yeah, right.
That's right.
So it reared its ugly head again, and all this election proved was you could be the worst candidate, and it doesn't even put a dent in that. You'd still win because it's the economy, stupid.
Yeah.
So, and this is
I do think
again
Trump
your
still is,
argument
like,
with not
unique,
letting everyone vote
yeah.
and how they're dumb. Well, not that they're
Oh,
dumb. That's not nice.
stop.
My bad. I shouldn't have said that.
No,
That
you know
was
what it
definitely
is?
implication.
You know what it is?
No, you know what I meant though.
Because I love
Yeah.
democracy so much, what we should be doing is in elementary school, we should be teaching media literacy, critical thinking,
I hate this shit.
epistemology.
That's fine.
Go
but
ahead.
Like, what do you?
Go
what do you-
ahead. I'm sorry. Does a better educated
hang on.
citizen
Look,
not
look.
make
Let
a
me,
better
let me say my
democratic
piece, and maybe I'm the one that's
process?
being dumb.
Go ahead.
You tell me. All right.
Yeah,
But
go ahead.
this reminds me of over the years how many times I heard that, like, oh, especially when I was in the Army, like people would always be like, oh, we need more financial literacy. If we just throw more financial literacy classes at these guys, they'll make better decisions. They don't. So, like, I'm not saying you're wrong that we need to shift our priorities education-wise. I just, like...
Well, it's a cultural thing, too.
You can't, like, people are like, we gotta teach more critical thinking. It's like, that's
just to
easier
be
fucking
clear.
said than done, right? Like, it's like, what do you
Just
mean
to
by
be clear.
teach? Yeah, go ahead.
It is also a cultural thing.
Of
So
course
it's
it is,
twofold.
because your
You could put as
education- the
much
education in your
education in
culture
front of
sets the tone.
somebody. If they don't buy into it, if they don't value,
Oh, that's fair. No, it is
then
more of a
it's
cultural
not gonna. It's just fucking
No, I
empty
agree.
words. Yeah.
I agree.
Like again, with the
I agree.
military, these are young men. They're buying shit with the money that they got that they don't fucking need, and they're probably being taken advantage for it.
Yep.
That's a cultural thing. Why does that young 19-year-old fresh out of basic want a fucking Camaro? That's not a financial investment, right? Like
Well,
that's
it's
a
not
cultural thing.
Well, it could
That is
also
a
just be an
cultural thing.
impulse.
Why do they value that
You're right. You're
car?
right. That is an impulse. It is a cultural thing, but it's also an impulse thing related to. Don't bring up IAG2. Enter that down. Real
I don't
quick,
know how I did
let's
that. Yeah,